All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Settle down. Settle down. Take your seats in the front rows if at all possible. It's looking very empty up here. Come on. Come on. Nobody.
Come on.
All right, we're going to go in the front row.
Excellent.
Nice. Keely. Love it.
Keely. Strong woman there, Keely. Good job.
Well, this is pretty good. This is the first time we've ever attempted to fill a room, and I'm going to call that like 80%. Well done. Thank you all very much for showing up. That is a great turnout. I was worried this would be like 6 diehard readers, and thanks for showing up, Mom, in the back. No, just kidding. She doesn't show up to these things. And it definitely would have been slow in here if not for these two gentlemen. They are, as President Joe Biden might say, a big fucking deal.
It's going to be one of these type of
Yeah,
interviews.
you know. How many of you got in you so far? Let's just keep them coming, people. He's on somebody's tab. He's
got
still in
Rusty's.
office. The drinks are a write-off.
Everybody getting a drink for Rusty is getting one for me.
Okay, I'll get the introductions of these two men who quite literally need no introduction because you are nerdy enough to already be in this room. But first of all, I want to thank all of you. This is amazing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your Tuesday evening to come down to the bar. I know nobody wants to hit the bar after work on a hard Tuesday. Thank you for reading the Arizona Agenda. And it is like truly heartwarming to look out at this crowd. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. And see so many people who give enough of a shit to show up to a thing like this and talk about democracy, the future of our nation, what is happening in this country.
Come on, Hank.
I'm sorry, Rusty.
I'm just a kid. I'm just a kid.
I'm like a drink and a half deep. I'll try to keep it family up in here. And I want to give a huge thanks to Valley Bar, and especially Valley Bar owner Charlie Levy, who is a political nerd and just all-around great guy who lets us do stuff like this for free. The bartenders who bring the drinks. The bouncers who all keep us safe from the nutters on the outside, especially the bouncers. Don't mess with those people. Seriously, they will kick you out. I'm talking to you, Keely. But yeah, we before I get to the reason you're all here, let me make one quick pitch for the agenda. We do not exactly rake in the dough off of these kinds of free events, and that's fine because that is not our business model. We are a subscriber-first publication. We value our subscribers, we work for them, and if you are not already one of them, please consider becoming a subscriber today. I think we've got some discount cards in the back. And if you are already a subscriber, what was that? Was that Rusty? Pull it up.
I'm shilling for him. That's good.
Yeah. Are you sharing the agenda every morning? Are you like sending it out to your listserv? I bet you got a big listserv.
No, don't do that.
Those donors?
He'll charge you.
You could be pointing them our way.
He's going to charge
Come
you for
on.
copyright.
Okay. So you probably all know our esteemed guests, but I'll do a quick introduction anyway. Rusty Bowers, to my right, is a seasoned politician and artist who has served in the Arizona House, the Arizona Senate, and won his first election in for the legislature in '96. Was it, Rusty?
92.
92. I was 7. And Rusty was already serving your interest there at the Capitol. Bowers has a background in fine arts, specializing in watercolor, oil painting, sculpting. He is a Renaissance man, if I have ever met one. He also has worked in construction. He is a rock lobbyist. Is that right? Are you still lobbying for rocks?
When did he find the bio?
You know, I just typed it into ChatGPT. I was trying to go through my head here. EPCOR these days. And I think you all know the reason that we're here to celebrate and grill these two men is how they stood up for us in the 2020 elections. Like, yeah, take a moment. Take a moment. When powerful Republicans came to Rusty Bowers and demanded he do their will, he did not bend. He cited his constitutional duty to uphold the law and respect the will of voters. He has testified before the January 6th committee, laying out a detailed account of the pressures he's faced and for refusing to betray his oath of office. His steadfast adherence to constitutional principles in the face of immense pressure serves as a powerful example of political courage and integrity. In 2022,
I come to bars more often if I get this.
Yeah, right? It's because they've been drinking, Rusty. You don't know what you're missing. Right. You think lobbyists are great at the Capitol. Wait till you see them here. And sadly, in 2022, he lost his race for the state Senate to David Farnsworth, who believes, not fans in this crowd, who believes among many weird things that the election was stolen. Moving on to the man on my farther right. Clint Hickman is this true, a fourth generation Arizonan? Mm-hmm. I too am a fourth generation. 4G. 4G? What? Wow. Man, look at us.
I've never heard of the Stevenson name.
Oh, no, it doesn't, come with the egg farms that the Hickman name is. Wait, we're about to get to that, too. Fourth generation Arizonan and a member of the prominent Hickman family. You probably know them from their eggs. They are the largest egg producer in the Southwest?
Yes.
Wow, congratulations.
10 million chickens, kids.
10 million chickens.
We just need to give chickens a vote, and I become Donald Trump.
I heard you were doing that. We'll get to the chickens and the voting.
No, not that story.
It's the last one. I just had to put it on the list of questions. He's been doing it a long time. He represents the West Valley. Hickman and other members of the Board of Supervisors opposed the Cyber Ninjas audit of the 2020 election in Maricopa County. His stance was crucial in drawing attention to the differences between legitimate election audits and those done by the Cyber Ninjas. Hickman also defended the results of that election against intense pressure from members of his party who wanted him to declare them false. His steadfast commitment to transparency, accuracy, and the rule of law helped to maintain public trust in the electoral system amid an unprecedented wave of misinformation and partisan bullshit. Sorry, Rusty, that wasn't actually on the note cards. It's just quicker. He announced he's not seeking another term to the board next year. Yes, let's boo them, shall we?
Hey, can I say, I hate to have my resume right up against this man's. That stinks. It's true. I hope that everybody understands that Hank and I talked, and I said I would do something like this as long as I got to appear with Rusty, because if you watch the J6 testimony, how could any Arizonan be able to watch this man under those bright lights and not feel pride of being an Arizonan? So that's the resume that I kind of pale with. So anyway, and Hank, before you do it, just a couple things, because I still am in office.
Take it away.
I still am in office. Sorry,
That's right.
Sorry, Rusty, you're just a lobbyist in this crowd. It's like some of you.
One of many.
All right. Stephen Richer, thank you for everything that you've done for the county. Eddie Cook, thank you for being a part of the county team and coming in and changing that office and doing such a good job. And definitely, last but not least, a colleague of mine that has shown incredible courage, ethics, every great acronym that you can put towards serving, Bill Gates, that's here tonight too. And And so I was really happy that Bill has come because people will understand on the legislature makes laws, Rusty. I think you know that. And because it is would be an open meeting violation if I had any of my other colleagues here, thanks to Steve Gallardo and Jack Sellers and now Tom Galvin. They are such great guys. And that's the hard part for me to leave, because these men are just fantastic to serve with. They're honest. They're incredibly trustworthy. They talk straight face to face. We have our disagreements, but isn't it funny how we always come together and drive this county forward with great policy and great commitment to make everybody want to move here to Arizona, much less Maricopa County. So thanks for that. I just want to get that.
Thank you.
And Rusty, do you feel as warmly about your colleagues in the legislature? Anyone you want to give a special shout out to?
I'm going to need another drink.
Is that a serious question?
Yeah. Why not? Is Anthony Kern here? We should give a special shout out. All right. So in those bios, each of your bios, at least as I wrote them, ended sadly, with Rusty losing his primary, with Clint Hickman walking away from this office that you've represented for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk a little about that sadness. Let's just dwell with this sadness for a moment. This is a great way to start off. So, Rusty, I remember talking to you in 2022, and it seemed pretty apparent that you knew you were going to lose that primary. And you went into it knowing you were going to lose that primary and did not care. Like, you felt that you needed to run that race anyway. And I wonder if you can kind of tell us a little bit about why that was important to you, and if, in hindsight, you have any regrets postponing the madness or like prolonging the madness that I'm sure you've suffered just as a, high-profile Arizonan who did what he did.
Today I met with a audio reporter from Switzerland, and we have had a consistent blessing, I call it a blessing, of people from all over the world who asked me for interviews. And those types of questions come up, the suffering that you went through. And I said, hold on. We are finally parting with my daughter's car. I'm giving it to a son who's up in Utah. And when I think of, in the middle of all that stuff, of trying to keep Casey alive and keep her spirits up and to try to build her up, and in the middle of all that she was going through, it was like there was a fog. And after, serving, because I was in for another 2 years, and at the end of that time, looking back, that part of it was pretty tough. David Farnsworth, may he, I was going to say rest in peace.
Not quite yet.
Not yet. Well, I don't want him to. This isn't one of those kind of things. I've known David 50 years, yeah. More than 50 years. And where he came from and the things he said just blew me away. And I absolutely forgive all of that, all of it. But I wasn't going to let the Maricopa County party bully me around. That was it. It was just about, I don't like bullies. I never have liked bullies. I don't like to be a bully. Am I a bully? I mean, if I'm a bully, come up and punch me, because I deserve it. But I've never liked bullies, and there's this bully mentality that we accept as the norm, very acceptable nowadays, and it is an undermining and divisive thing that we got to get rid of. So if you're asking if I feel sad about running, even though when I saw the stats after we got out of the redistricting thing, I thought, I'm done. In my district, I am toast. But it's going to be fun until we went to the first LD meeting. Oh, my land. That's when I took the advice from you. That was the last one I went to. That's it. It was just vicious. And where are you? You're running in 9. He's running in the primary for 9. I can't remember.
Oh,
Mr.
Stapley?
Where are you at? Stand up, stand up, stand up.
This is Chris.
He's running in Mesa 9
State
against
Senate.
Scandalbury. And he said, you didn't ask for my support, which I give 7,000% because you're against Mr. Scandalbury. But we're not sad about it. I'm not sad about it. I'm not sad that I lost. I feel okay that I ran against somebody that I used to respect a lot and hope to again. But I wasn't going to be bullied, Hank.
God,
And that's kind of it.
I have to ask, was David Farnsworth always like this?
I sat next to David when he first ran. We sat in the back of the house. There's the 2 best seats on each side of the doors, right there. And Dave sat next to me, and he had just won against Polly Rosenbaum. And that's one of his claims to fame. He got rid of Polly on the front end and me on the back end. And but he voted no, I think, on every bill, and just said, I don't know anything about it, so I'm voting no. I mean, there wasn't a lot of flexibility or even, he was just kind of always that way. Yeah, he's kind of that way.
Okay, I could see that. That's, there are people who evolve. And there are those who kind of evolve into what they were always meant to be. And I would love to see David Farnsworth 50 years ago, just out of pure curiosity.
I had a lot of respect for Dave. We were in the same church. He did his duty, and I was involved in that. I mean, he had to interview me regularly, see how my families were, that I was taken care of. I have a lot of respect for that, and I'm grateful that I can say that. I don't think what happened in our race was to the same par that what I thought of him, and that's sad. But hey, people have been sad at what I've done. One thing is, I got to let it go, and that's, I think, for all of us. It's fun to chat and yap about it. We got to let it go. You just got to let it go. Mm-hmm. It's like sucking pickles every day. Mm-hmm. Why do you want to do that? But I have found something cool. Day-old spaghetti, a little bit of pickle juice on it. Fire that baby up in the microwave.
Disgusting.
I'm not kidding you. Try it.
Moving on.
I'll come and visit you in the hospital. It's really good. Okay.
So, Clint, I have kind of
just put an egg on that.
Oh,
everybody would be
God
fine.
damn it.
Send that to the American Egg Board. New recipe.
So I've got kind of a similar question for you. You
Yeah.
know, you are not running for re-election this year, and you're not endorsing anyone for your seat, correct?
No.
But you don't seem to have a huge problem with the fact that Debbie Lesko, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Debbie Lesko is running for your seat.
Right.
And that scares me. I saw what Debbie Lesko did in Congress. You know, I knew Debbie Lesko when she was a state lawmaker, and she was known for taking on complicated, thoughtful issues and doing the yeoman's work on those things.
Yes.
That is not what she's known for these days. The thing that comes to
What's
mind...
Congress known for right now?
Well, in her case, it's the certification votes. That's what I remember. And I wonder, like, how are you comfortable with her occupying your seat on the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors?
Well, Hank, first of all, and everybody, it's not my seat.
Sure.
It's District 4 seat. It's the people of the West Valley, and I've had a lot of, I was gonna say, God, I got to go behind Rusty and what he just did. Okay. First of all, I'll take it this way. First, I want to thank my family. The reason why I've stopped is a couple-fold, but number one, my family. I have kids at ages that are going to be doing some really fun stuff here in the next couple years. I've got a daughter that is currently in summer school going to Xavier. Is her first year. Beautiful daughter. My oldest is just completed his freshman year at U of A that I didn't get to go see a football game with. And then I have a son who's here tonight and is my driver. So, Benton, can you get me another beer and see if we can? So he's going to be my driver, but he's doing great at Brophy, and he's an all-state pitcher, and he's getting recruited, and he's going to go to a Division I program. If he goes to U of A, that would be awesome. But he's going to live his life. He likes Texas and TCU and others too. So anyway, I decided after years of this job, I was a term limit fan. And it's like, who am I not to term limit myself? I've done this job now for 10 years. I was able to get the appointment. There's so many of my friends here and so many people that are just formative and supportive through all these years. Ken Weiss, the Avondale mayor, thank you, Ken, for that. Lorenzo Sierra, we would talk during COVID. But Andy Konasik is here tonight wearing his
MAGA hat.
Look at it closely.
I did have to look at that.
Look
I was
at it closely.
Security.
Yeah. But he and I talked, and when I got the appointment, and he's it was his vote that put me on the board of supervisors to take the place of Max Wilson, who was an awesome gentleman, and watching Andy how he did his job, but eventually Andy left, said it's in good hands. 20 years, yeah, so I didn't quite get there, Andy. So now I'll go backwards a little bit. So family first. The death threats, the abuse. Watching this, what was happening to Bill.
Absolutely.
And Bill deciding, just a little bit before me, like I think my time is done here. And he didn't leave because of the abuse. It's like he wants to have a life too, outside of this. And I went to a Suns game with Bill, and we kind of talked about it. And boy, I was a charged up stress ball, and Bill's sitting there having a beer, looking like he's been freed, And he's talking to me, but one thing that if you noticed about my race, this coming thing, I didn't get out because I was waiting for my critic or critics to run against me, to have the nuts to come after me and try to run against me, because I was going to beat that jackass, whoever that might be, just for pride's sake. But I don't want to take a term of 4 years just because I want to show that I'm going to beat somebody that don't know what the hell they're doing. I don't want that for the county. So that's when I decided to get out. Valentine's Day, told my family I'm not going to run. My two boys were not happy with that. They've kind of enjoyed some of this and think that I could ground and pound anybody that can't come my way. But I did it for that. I did it for my family business. You might have seen different times where people decided to boycott Hickman eggs. It's tough as a businessman with a trademark, associated trademark. So that family, I have to be concerned about that, the way my brothers and the other owners look and see how they sustain that when abuse is coming in to the poor lady that answers the phone saying, "Hi, Hickman's eggs." Is Clint there? Unbelievable of what's transpired. So I had to do it for that as well. And I just thought my time had come. I was able to work with the legislature that it's hard to work with now, with these people, to build roads, to build bridges, setting tax rate without them coming and stealing county money. I mean, the whole thing. So that's a little bit. Now let's get to the last thing. There were so many people calling to find out what I was going to do because they didn't want to run against me or they knew they couldn't beat me. So the only phone call I got from Debbie Lesko was way after she quit Congress, because I think she's had enough of that. And she called me that night. And so I have to give her some respect. Debbie and I constantly on the phone as representatives of the West Valley. And she said, "I think I'd like to try to do that job." And it's like, wow, a U.S. Congresswoman coming to where the real power is, Andy, county supervisor. But I do remember how she worked with the people of Sun City West. I have great hopes that if she does win the primary, that she'll be a great supervisor that any of us can call and try to work on problems and work on the growth of the West Valley. So that's my hope. And the last thing I would say about Debbie Lesko is, and nobody wants to hear it, but our Republican delegation reached out to our board during the intensity of the abuse that we were getting. And they wanted Debbie to sign a letter questioning the election, questioning the processes and the procedures of the election. And they signed that letter. They signed that letter, and they were trying to get her to sign that letter. And all it took was one phone call. Debbie called me and said, "Hey, Clint, this doesn't feel right. What is going on?" I explained it to her. I said, "Why don't they just come and do the research, Debbie? Why don't you come and do the research about how we run elections, the people behind it, the processes, the procedures, especially the people. And then maybe you might have a difference of opinion." Well, she's in Washington, D.C., and she said, "You know what, Clint, I believe you. I'm not going to sign that letter." That meant everything to me. So
Did she
I
call
hope
you
the
after
best.
the vote?
What's that?
Did she call you after the...
Now that was I don't know what they do in Washington, D.C. I know it at the local level who talks to me. I know at the local level who wanted to believe what I had to say. This guy bringing his staff on Christmas Eve to take a tour of McTech while his daughter was dying in her bed. I didn't hear that from Karen Fan. Karen Fan didn't even show up. She didn't send staff. But this guy did that and said, "You know what? After seeing all this, I think I'm with you, Clint. I think I believe in Maricopa County." And look at the abuse that he's taken. So there's my answer. Sorry, I was supposed to go quicker so I can get to Rusty's stories, but
It's all good. I like your
that's
stories.
my belief.
Well, and I guess the larger question is kind of, I don't think things are getting better. I think that when people like you two leave, we're not getting improvements. We're not getting the, younger, better Rusty Bowers with more integrity. It's not
And
the
hair?
way that
You said hair.
So, like, what is this? What does this do to the Republican Party, to your party, as people like you are vilified, threatened with their lives, pushed out of the party, defeated in primaries? Like, what are we coming to here? What are your...
We get rid of the primaries like this.
Oh, all right. Did Chuck Coughlin, I saw him with literally a clipboard working this room like, "Chuck, they've all signed her. They're not signing, bud." He's going to pass it around. Man, that was the plug he was waiting for. All right. So nonpartisan primaries, are you there too, Clint? Is that the solution to our grand problem, is just do away with the partisan primaries?
Look, first of all,
I'll answer for you.
no, he's going to answer for me. Yeah, I believe that we need to make a wholesale change in the primary system to get people. But the first start with, Chuck, how do you explain, how does a person like me recruit and tell people to run for office the way this is right now? It's so difficult. So first of all, you need to get good people to want to step into this arena, right? Lorenzo, you could say the same thing on the Democratic side of the party. I mean, I would classify
Jennifer right
Lorenzo as a person that was very centric on making just growth, making things happen, and he's got it from his side too, right? So I think you could say the same thing. So yes, something has to change about this. I told Rusty, as he mentioned, Rusty, quit going to the grassroots, because these people, we're witnessing Roman circus where they're the lions and we're the Christians that are just getting eaten on for people's entertainment every Tuesday night. Why am I leaving my house for this? And that's how people win their primaries right now. So I hope that was your answer.
Well, yeah, so is that also, are you voting for the, assuming Chuck gets his remaining signatures?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Chuck. Absolutely. You got me.
The idea that a non-constitutional structure, parties, can alienate over a third of the electorate and still be seen as a legitimate structure. Seriously, really? And we think that's good? Are we afraid? Am I afraid with Jennifer and Lorenzo, who I think are good, solid spokespeople for a point of view and not even homogenous? You know, there's differences there. Are they afraid? Am I afraid of standing up and trying to explain what I really believe? Or do I have to kowtow and go to a partisan hit squad and ask, what can I say that you guys will agree with? Mm-hmm. I mean, we need the candidates to be able to speak freely, and everybody can run. And then you winnow them out at the top, and those people run for office. We say, well, Republicans might not make it. Great. If you can't live through it and you can't sell what you believe, then you don't deserve to be in there. But we can do it. And the same with these.
I think I've heard you both say, and tell me if I'm wrong, that you voted for Trump in 2016 and
I did.
2020, both?
Yeah.
Yep.
Will you vote for him in 24?
The answer is no, on my part.
Clint?
You don't have to say it.
No, the power of the secret ballot, right? Let me just say, I don't know what's going to happen. You remember the people are picked at the convention. So I really have to see what's going to come out of this convention. Looking at the Democratic side, it looks already like there's some people attacking President Biden. So I don't know if that's going to happen. And then I don't know what's going to happen with all these court cases on the Trump side. So let me just say I was a big believer in the top of a party ticket. I worked for President Trump on two elections. But I can tell you, I was not happy as a Republican, as a man, and as a citizen of this country to watch people, his supporters, break in and assault the Church of Democracy, which is our nation's capital. So,
wait, was that a maybe, Clint?
What's that?
Was that a maybe?
Looking to see what's coming out of this party system.
Hank, we all gotta get over this. Every single interview, the last question
will
they
you
asked
vote for
me,
Trump? Yeah, sure.
Will I vote for Trump? And I always say no, because I committed to that on day one.
Will you vote for Biden?
No.
Okay. So you're just going to sit this one out?
No, I'm going to vote for you.
Hey, right in, Hank Stevens. I'll do the same, Rusty.
Point
You
is,
and me both.
I'm not held to any of you by what I do in an election. I actually believe there is a God. Mm-hmm. And he's in the details. And how I stand before him and say, okay, here's my thinking both ways. And I wrote in my wife, or I wrote in somebody that I think is capable and of a national stature and would act like a president in a time when the world wants to eat us. Mm-hmm. And they're slaughtering each other. And America has a point of existence, and we're running away from it with these neo-isolationists, and no offense to those who are. But we can't run. There's nowhere to run. The guy today, I said, why is it you guys come and talk to me? And he said, well, kind of America goes, we go. I said, we get a cold, you get pneumonia. When the lady broke down in tears in Germany, when our group was over there, she kept me out of the bus. She was kind of the shaker of the trip. And she said, would you stay here? And this lady, I've never seen this lady before. She starts crying. She says, well, I want to thank you for standing up for democracy. And I'm going, I don't even know you. Mm-hmm. She goes, but you are America. Whatever happens to you will absolutely run right over us. If you don't stand, we are gone. We have to have America. We can't run away from it, and we're trying to. We're trying to go soft, but we can't do it.
And Hank, some of your question, and I know the media and everything else, we all get carried away with the very top of the ticket, right? We all of us, it's been 24/7, the top of the ticket, President Biden, Trump, all that stuff. And I am such after learning and working in government, the people that are at the down ballot affect your lives a lot more.
A lot more.
Right? I'm seeing the mayor of Avondale, right? That has to figure out how to fill potholes with the declining revenue bucket. Stephen Richer, the things that he's doing.
He's trying to fill potholes with ballots.
I honestly, yeah, I honestly don't know why people would even give a damn about what I'm thinking about the top of the ticket. I'm working for the people at the bottom of the ticket that actually can drive this government and help our residents more than what the top of the ticket is. And you got so many of them sitting in here, so many government workers, people that talk to the legislature, and it's like I'm more concerned about the races here at the local level than I am, because it's just the nation top of the ticket just swamps the discussion. So.
I 100% understand that. I think the reason that we're all so fascinated with this question of who will you vote for, who will you vote for, is because it shows what a, I guess, difficult thing it is to break away from your partisanship. After all you've been through, you're still like, well, he is the Republican. Mm-hmm. And that to me is just wild that like we can be sitting here on a stage talking about this and it's still a maybe.
Well, you just pay your party to get rid of you, and then you free it up.
Yeah. As they've done. I got to tell you, and I'm sure Rusty feels this way. You probably feel a little forsaken by our president and the people that are around him. I certainly do. I'm not working for that now. So, but the vote is sacrosanct, and I just wish people would talk about the people that are here, the people that are willing to work for the residents here than that.
We got a whole night celebrating you here, Mr. Supervisor.
Hey, there's a
I'm
thought.
celebrating some others that are running.
Just now, and I throw this out. Because this, in my view, we have two candidates that for differing reasons I feel are incapable of carrying the mantle of the presidency. And it's kind of like they mutually nullify each other and force us to say, okay, then what are the policies? If we can't trust a person, what are the policies that I support? Mm-hmm. And on both sides, there's policies that we support. Mm-hmm. How do we get through that except by doing the primary thing? Mm-hmm. And because we got to figure out a way to winnow through all the chaff and get to where we can govern in the center. Mm-hmm. And that was really liberating, and I've said that before, when Hoffman gave me the ultimatum of that, you have to cut 30% off the budget, and then we'll bring our caucus to support the budget. 30%? He sent that through, and I said to the person who was representing him, 30%? Yeah, right off the top, across the board. So 30% fewer teachers? 30% fewer guards down at corrections? Mm-hmm. 30% less caseload support for access? Yeah. Hey, Michael, would you call Mr. Bolding, get him and his budget person? We got to talk. Bring him on down, because I just got freed up. And from then on, it was like, adios. I'll work with them. And it cost us 1.7% more. And it was worth every nickel. Mm-hmm. And that night, I think we had one amendment on it was a technical amendment on a budget bill. One amendment. Oh, it's heaven. Heaven. It can be done. Thank you. In my rearview mirror, it was great.
So
that's okay, Rusty. All we do at the county is just keep cutting your property tax rate so you can keep your money. So it's okay.
So, I want to, actually, let me talk to you about the last couple of years. really like how, this all started in late 2020. 2021 was a blur for me. You were going through an election in 22. I'm sure that was wild. Has it let up? Has it gotten better? Where are you guys now? Like how are you like feeling compared to what I assume were some very rough times? Are your lives turning around? Do you feel
no.
like we as a country are getting past that moment? I love that you said we got to stop talking about this, but we can't, Rusty. We can't.
Yeah, you're right. We can't until there's action. Optimism is a precursor to hope, and hope is a precursor to faith, and faith is work. Mm-hmm. You show faith by when you step out and start acting, working. And Ben it's pretty tough for Mr. Toma to corral his particular group of unique individuals, and it's just hard, and
But
okay.
But how are you doing, Rusty?
I have to remember.
Best supervisor ever. Go.
What did
Sorry,
you
Rusty.
do?
Sorry, Rusty. You just
Hey,
delivered one
all
of your
I
drinks
want is
to
a
me.
lemonade.
There's a little something in this one.
I'm sorry.
Well, how are you? Like, do you feel like you as a human are better, and do you feel like we as a country are any better place than we were 2 or 4 years ago? Because I'm staring down the 2024 election, and I am thinking, God damn it, if Trump doesn't win, we're going to have a whole terrible 2025, just like we did with 2021, where the election won't end. And I just feel really bad about this whole thing. And I know you guys were like deeper down in that pit, having actually gone through it in the way that you did. And I wonder if now how you look at what's coming ahead of us. Like, and how that compares, also how that relates to how you as a human are feeling.
How far can I speak?
You can go. I've heard you, Rusty. You are
Well,
orator.
because I don't.
You want to try one?
It's like W.C. Fields. What was his line? That woman drove me to drink, for which I'll ever be indebted to her. I try to be a disciple and would like someday to really be qualified. I believe that the country must survive for a host of reasons, but mostly for liberty, not freedom. Freedom is license. Liberty is the freedom to take moral choice. Two different things. And for my children and grandchildren, and all of you who are at least getting more seasoned and have a set of your own, there's nowhere to run anymore. My ancestors, your ancestors, all of us, either if we were Native American, we still were running and being pursued by people and came here for a reason. And at some time we need to come to a realization that we can change and we must change. I must change. And so my last time off, very interested. I respect Ben immensely. I have a deep feeling of respect and admiration. And for his staff. I wasn't over in the Senate, but some of the staffers, incredible. But that's a very microcosmic view. The larger view of the country is me times 300 million. It's you times 300 million. If everybody was like you, would there be peace?
No, we'd be at war with ourselves all the time.
That's the problem. That's our challenge. We can't expect all of you unless I am willing to change. If I'm willing to sit down with Lorenzo and and his gorgeous friend right here, Jen. I mean, people that reached out and were kind to me in spite of getting flamed on the floor, and would talk to me, or versus others who reported up the ladder that I saw Ken Bennett yucking it up with the Democrats in the minority caucus room.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, that's like criminal behavior. And if we can't get beyond that, we're going to go through a very hard season.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean hard. Hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do my homework, I prepare, I try to be a good grandpa and father, I pay my bills, I get out of debt, I pay off my mortgage, I have a little bit of emergency supply of food and water, and I try to keep a little in savings because I frankly think I'm going to need it. Whether it's losing my job at the legislature and tiding me over, or worse. And believe me, there's a lot worse than, I don't know. Maybe there isn't a lot worse. We're trying to get some bills through, and I don't know all of the people who are in this room in the reporting ladder. Anyway, I'm yapping.
What about you?
I was going to say, I have a farm at the egg farm. If you want to just come over there and wait through the apocalypse with me, we'll have all the chicken and eggs you can eat. All of you are invited.
Hey, we may need that.
10 million.
Do you feel better today than you did in 2020 at about this point? Like, do you feel like...
So Bill's probably going to agree with me. He's sitting back there. I think that we were getting assaulted before what the election was. We were going through the pandemic, and the county was in charge of the public health response. And so... and all the county workers there's so many, Eddie, you can remember that, I remember the assessor's office saying, here we are with a mask mandate or not, all this other stuff. You're just wearing a county badge, you're going and measuring people's homes, and now we have to send a police escort. And so we were living through some of this already. And I mean, I was really happy I was there as a chairman with a great group of guys during the pandemic, because this was actual life and death. The election, oh my gosh, that was actually life and death stuff. We were fighting a disease that we did not know of. We didn't know anything about it. People were dying. I don't care what people told you, especially when we were watching bodies go into refrigerated coolers in the county parking lot, Bill. And we were making life and death choices back then, and it truly was before we learned more about it and spacing and everything. I kind of was going already through the fire, and some of this election stuff is just a grow out of people being at home and social media and going down what I call Satan's window. That just doing their own research and going down rabbit holes and being chaotic and being mad. I thought the pandemic, a national emergency, I thought that we would come together as a country. We saw it during, we saw it during 9/11. We saw it during World War II. I really thought people were going to start heeding the call. And I always had in the back of my mind, how am I reacting? Am I going to frighten my own kids? How, as I'm dealing with people and dealing with this, am I setting an example that my kids can follow? And I wish everybody that lived through that, because the fog is going like, God, remember that? My wife and I were just talking about, remember that, we'd go into a restaurant and trying to help a restaurant and buying to-go and all that stuff. The fog of the memory, there were some of us that did a good job with it. There were some of us that were immediately rebelling, talking about freedoms being taken away while people were dying down the street. One thing that I could wish that I could take back or have is we should have been able to attend COVID funerals. Because there's a grief thing that you see. And I remember going to the funeral when we could of a guy that died of COVID, 10 years younger than me, coached my son in baseball, looked healthy as a horse, died of COVID because he didn't know he was diabetic. And I remember looking at that and looking at some of these people that were probably torching me for being a chairman during the pandemic and the mask mandate, sitting there at a funeral of a guy who died. I wish all of us would have seen a little bit more of that just by attending funerals and being able to be with those people that were in the hospital by themselves. Because I think we lost the realism of what was going on in those days. And Lorenzo, you lived through it, man. Thank God you lived through it.
Yeah.
So here's a guy, I don't know if you know Lorenzo's story, but he almost passed away from it. And Lorenzo, I remember seeing you at Home Depot. Then about a month later, you're almost to die on the East Coast. Thanks for making it out of it. And he's a Democrat, and I'm a Republican. You know, and I thought, hey, another seat we're going to pick up. It's a joke.
Harsh, harsh.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't report. That's right. Thank you, Mr. Recorder.
So Rusty was talking about how, he gets calls from all over the world. Radio reporters want to hear, what it was like to go through that. You guys the two of you and a handful of other people in the state have really built reputations as, not only national reputations, but like international, worldwide reputations as some of the handful of people who stopped the madness and kept, our democracy rolling along. And you did. But also, isn't that the bare minimum? All you did was not do something evil. And I wonder, do you have a sense of imposter syndrome for all that? It must be almost coming home from a war that you didn't serve in. Thank you for your service, sirs.
Hank, before Rusty answers this question, because he should, I'm not the one that got medals of courage from the president and profiles in courage.
So not an imposter.
I thought it was just my job, but look at this guy. This guy gets honored, and I'm sitting here in a damn bar.
It's a nice
with
bar.
You people, you unwashed heathens. All right, go ahead, Rusty. You answer that one because I've heard you answer this before.
What was the
and the
question?
Weren't we just doing our jobs?
Absolutely. We were doing what you would expect me to do. Mm-hmm. You did what you were expected to do. That was it. And when we did the JFK thing, which, by the way, Caroline Kennedy and her son Jack are the most down-to-earth, real people. I was just amazed at how just regular they were. Plopped down on the couch talking. Jack, it was amazing. And then, of course, I come back, and that was the LD I go to. Oh, were you back there with the Kennedys? I go, yeah. He said, I always knew you were one of them. Whatever. But it was cool.
Well, then, along those lines,
But we did our job. And if I hadn't done my job, how would you live with yourself?
I don't know. A lot of people are living fine. They seem to be good. They got their mug shots, but other than that, it's not that big of a deal. Jay Kaufman sleeps fine. I'm not worried about him.
Oh, you guys.
Rusty gave a speech to the boys at Brophy that I was honored to attend, and he got to talk. And you talked about toothbrush moments.
What are toothbrush moments?
Toothbrush moments.
Oh, yeah.
What was that to you? Because I thought that resonated with the boys.
Well, whether you believe me or not, I do brush my teeth. And so at night, when I'm looking in the mirror and I hold my toothbrush and I think, how did you do today? Mm-hmm. Did you keep your oath? Were you treat people kindly? Were you a good example? Were you kind to your Donetta? Things like that. It's kind of my little interview, sometimes short, sometimes long. But if you can't look yourself in the eye and say, I had my integrity, and I kept it today.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to do the same thing tomorrow. Those are the toothbrush interviews, kind of. And actually, I've got a really good toothbrush, but I won't loan it to anybody. As I get older, the bristles get a lot softer.
I have a son that was sitting in there, and I that really struck me because all of us, 2 times a day, right, if we're taking care of our teeth, do get to look at it, ourselves in the mirror. And if you just do that self-reflection, and if you just feel like, am I a better human today, and did I have a positive impact on everybody I met? Some days you don't get that, but most days, if you just do that and think about that for just the slightest moment, it not only changes your life, but it changes your family's life. It changes people around you. And that's why I think it's so big to honor Rusty today, because everybody nationwide got to watch that TV camera and watch him give his testimony and talk about just doing his job and staying within the law. So that's a toothbrush moment for the entire country to see, and he did it fabulously.
Thank you, Clint.
So I don't want to keep everyone here all night, but I do want to. I got 1 or 2 more that I just have to ask you guys. But I also want to throw it out to the audience. If you want to start thinking about, if you've got questions that you want to ask these 2 gentlemen, I'll come around with the microphone in just a second. But I got 2 more things I got to ask here. Rusty, I saw you back at the Capitol this year, getting wanded by security as you came through the house,
awesome.
which just made my day. I'm going to be honest. But presumably, you could make a living out. So you're a successful artist. You can make a living outside of the Capitol, and yet you're there. Why? What is it about this world that you just can't step away from? Because most people would have been like, well, I'm done, and just not turned around.
I'm not down there. I work for EPCOR, a wonderful company, and we have some important legislation in water. And it's given me an opportunity to at least maintain a slight voice in the water kind of world. And on various days, I think maybe I was a good thing or a bad thing. But I'm going on 72. And tonight, my little grandson was saying, Grandpa, can we cook hot dogs? We have 2 blocks and 2 little chairs, and we make a little fire and we cook hot dogs outside. And I'm thinking, on my tombstone, I wanted to say, I could have cooked hot dogs, but I went down to the legislature. No, that's not what I'm going to write. So, but I'm treated well. But the why is that I would like to at least get some water stuff nailed down, if that's possible. And I overblow my own influence to do that, and I see that. And that's kind of a whimsy, maybe a residual whimsy. But this mixes with your previous question, is that there are still individuals who are mean and want to ruin my new name is Rusty Trombone, by the way, by some of them. Do
I want to know what that means? Yeah, there was a no and a yes.
That's a great question. I didn't think beyond the fact that it's, hey, that's kind of cool, Rusty Trombone. Maybe it's not. But I'm there because I hope to be of some help to a company. It's a great company, and the cause is a good cause. I don't want to stay. I have other things that need to be done in my life. The art stuff, it's.
You can start carving that Don Bowles monument for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now I'm doing a big horse, Carpathian stallion, for a guest ranch in southern Arizona. You know, big, and paintings, and it's enjoyable, and I'm alone interviewing myself, and I like it. And it actually has made a little money, which the $26,000 was an enviable thing to make. But 24.6, what was it?
24. I don't know how you were
24.
getting that extra too, but we're gonna have to investigate that one.
It pays to be the.
And Clint, other than
Before you ask me a question, I want to tell a story
please.
about somebody else in this room, and she's gonna hate me for it. Yeah, I just heard the oh no.
Like, yeah, that.
Let me tell
that's
you.
sad, I don't
Let me
know.
tell you a quick little story
Stop.
about media. There are certain, as you do politics and you meet people, and sometimes you're treated well by media, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you can trust them. Sometimes you say something that's not exactly what I said. So there was this reporter that did a public records search for the county during about the 2020 election, and this ensued the cyber ninjas and all that stuff. And she did a public records search, and I had to turn over my phone, my public records, and everything else. I get a phone call. I'm at my son's baseball game, and this reporter calls me and says, "Clint, am I reading what I think I'm reading? Is this true?" And I said, "I don't know. What are you reading?" And she said, "Did President Trump actually call you and sweat you like what happened in Georgia?" And I said, "How do you know that?" "Well, I did a public record search and you turned it over." "Yeah, I'll go ahead and talk to you about it." So she talked to me about it, and then she called and said, "Hey, I'm trying to get a hold of Rusty Bowers. He won't talk to me." And I said, God, Yvonne, I'm sorry, man, if I'm blowing your cover, but I'm just telling you about
We all
trust.
know who this is. It is the amazing Yvonne.
I mean, she called me and said, "Hey, can you call?" And I said, "I'm going to call him." I said, "Rusty, I talked to Yvonne. I know she's trying to get in touch with you. She wants to hear your story." And Rusty said, "Clint, I will not be gamed," because it's media calling a Speaker of the House. And I said, "I don't think she'll do that. Rusty, talk to her for a second and then just don't talk to her if you want. Just blow her off like I mostly do." And then she calls me. I think it was either that same night or next. And she said, "Rusty just got done talking to me, and he went for 3 hours with notes." With itemized notes, and we looked at his art, and oh my God, Clint,
We read
I
that
laughed,
story.
I cried. It's like, here we go again. I give you this damn little snippet of a story, and then Rusty just beats my ass. So
I think the lead
Yvonne
was like the
Winget
cursive
Sanchez, yeah.
of Rusty's
Washington
handwritten
Post
notebook.
now. And then there was this other guy in the media that anytime something weird, some bullshit, weird shit was happening to me, Clint, do you want to talk about these burned ballots in your chicken barn? It's like, God damn, Hank. Well, they got people talking about it. It's like, oh, God. So I remember that call, and that was at my daughter's softball game. So thanks for this hard-hitting media, the hard-hitting stories that you guys do. So appreciate
I love that
it.
Yvonne's all serious, and I'm just like, tell me about the ballots and the chickens. I don't know if I ever told you this, but after I was working at Yellow Sheet at the time when we had that conversation, I wrote, a couple hundred words about, he says, he didn't burn the ballots. Do we believe that? And I got a call 6 months later from a lawyer who was just dogging me forever, trying to get me to, he wanted my notes from this, this 3-minute conversation we had. So thank you for that. That was a lovely experience, dodging process
The person who
servers
was
for months.
calling him was the insurance investigator. Honestly, what did he tell you? Because we've heard that it was Trump ballots that burned, and he must have told you. Yeah. Oh, my God, dang.
Truly
Sorry,
one of
man.
the weirdest storylines of a very weird time.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, were you going to ask me a question?
No, I
just
don't
jumped
think
you.
so. I
Okay,
don't
good.
know where that was
Good.
going.
You
It was
just burned
just,
it through.
did you know
Yeah.
what harm you caused me with that quote where I had to duck in my back door for months to try to avoid this poor guy?
Yeah, insurance investigators. Damn.
All right. Raise your hands if you've got a burning question or two that we did not. Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. I was ready to answer,
I've got
Rusty.
a question
Yes,
for me.
Rusty Bowers, please. Anyone? Anything?
While you're waiting.
Okay.
Scott Isham, my chief of staff that is here also tonight, that took so much abuse. He took the calls, I don't know, Scott, 700, 800, whatever, personal death threats. He and Michelle did such a great job. He's lived through this. He's lived through this with his family. His wife is here today, too. So, Scott, thank you so much. I mean, you were in the courtroom when we put that guy in prison. I appreciate all of your work and your service, not only to me, but to county. So thank you for being here today. Okay, sorry.
I did have a question relating to the whole chicken thing, and it is literally, I wrote this down. Once and for all, how many ballots did you burn at the farm? So if that doesn't draw the distinction between myself and the wonderful Yvonne, I don't know what will.
It's the ballot I'm going to use to vote for Trump in this next one. Unfortunately, went down in a fire in 3.
Good answer. All right, I've got one more. Rusty, I've been wanting to ask you this for a decade, and I'm never going to find like an appropriate place to ask this. And, I'm 2 drinks deep. You've had your 3rd lemonade, so I'm just going to go for it. I know you did your mission in northern Mexico, is that correct? And you have spent a lot of time down there doing art. And I read one time that you did your mission with the Tarahumara?
No.
No.
On my mission, I was in the East Coast. Monterrey was the headquarters. Tamaulipas.
Uh-huh.
I was in Matamoros and Tampico, and then in Monterrey, and then in a little town called Sabinas, Coahuila. Incidentally, when I was there, my future son-in-law was being born just right up the road in Zaragoza. But that's where I served the mission. But while I was there, I met some Matachine dancers, an indigenous group in the mountains there by Monterrey, and then later started going to the Tarahumara over in Chihuahua. So it wasn't mission work, it was all art, and then we did over-the-counter medicines and hospital supplies and food supplies. And I would get Boy Scouts to do their Eagle Scout projects, getting it all together, and then I would take them down to the clinics in the mountains of Chihuahua to the Indians. And that I'd probably made 80 plus trips among them over a 20-year span.
What a fascinating fellow that lives a life like this.
I'd lived it backwards. I really did.
What do you mean?
Well, I was doing the great adventure when I was a kid, and now when I'm old, it's so boring.
Yeah.
You retired young. I know 2 things about the Tarahumara tribe. They are famous for their long-distance running. They are incredible long-distance runners, and they eat peyote.
They are famous as long-distance runners, and I've had some incredible experiences.
Here, Rusty. This is
Well,
easy
I think
stuff.
we end on that.
Damn.
I have to finish the sentence.
Oh, no, don't. Leave us all just believing what we want to believe with it. Okay, finish. I am curious, yes.
Incredible experiences with them. And as to the peyote, I do not recall ever seeing or hearing of peyote use with the Tarahumara in the areas where I went. I know that mushrooms, I met an American guy down there who is a mushroom connoisseur and quite an interesting guy. But have I told you guys, I've told you the story of me getting kidnapped?
I heard
So,
of the story
that's
of
it.
you getting
Well,
kidnapped, but
well,
I've
we're
never
not-
heard
I-
the
I-
story.
It's okay. We'll tell it sometime.
Save that for the sequel. Oh,
what?
bar next door.
The after
yeah.
party.
You have to stick
The
around the bar
after
next
party.
door.
But that taught me about the real world. Where, I mean, kids die of impetigo, and half of their children die of tuberculosis by their first year. This is Fantasy Island where we live. That was survival. And to be a part of that was just, I met a woman, her name is Anita Garcia Narro. She was a quadriplegic. Paraplegic, came to the mountains from Monterey, carried across the river she was a nurse. The Catholic Association there said, "You're in a wheelchair, there's no roads, what do we do? You need to go back to Monterey." She disappeared and ended in a little place called Bawinocachi. And they were carrying her and she fell off and broke her neck and became a quadriplegic except for 2 fingers on this hand. And that way, she directed the kids in the community to build a school and a little clinic. She adopted 226 kids herself. And then through her school put 750 little Tarahumara kids whose parents had died of SIDA, AIDS. And meeting her with my daughters and helping and bringing supplies to their clinic. And I'm worried about the things that, it's just like I live in a fantasy world compared to the heroic, true heroism. And I'm not Catholic, but I'd sure like to figure out a way to get her sainted, because she was amazing. So.
Well, I think we got a lot of people in this room who think that you two are deserving of near sainthoods,
Yes.
at least.
Saint,
Hey,
Very
I'm Catholic.
courageous.
Scott, work on that. My chief of staff. Go see the bishop tomorrow.
Thank you so much for your time. This has been a blast.
Yeah.
is there anybody taking pictures of me in the bar?
Shots.
I've got a bishop too.
Thank you all so much for making the time to come out here tonight. We'll be at the bar.
Right on.